Before I say hello to everyone, I would just like to say Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year coming up to you. We've seen the Christmas wishes and the atmosphere really change, and for some reason, I'm super like cognizant of this year's Christmas. I don't know. I try to recollect the past year's Christmas, and it seems a bit fuzzy in my head. But this year, it's like I can really pick up every single detail that's happening within this Christmas. So, welcome to all of you. We hope you're enjoying your festive season. I'm here with Erasmus, co host for the Shaft podcast. We're here to deliver to you an amazing end of year episode where the two of us sit, recollect how far the journey has been, and then just have a few more discussions. Also, just to highlight what you should be expecting from us for the new year ahead of us. So, Erasmus, how have you been? How is the Christmas mood and the celebrations at your end?
Yeah, it's a little bit different for me also because I think for the third year in a row or so, I'm celebrating Christmas far away from home.
Yeah,
But the only difference is this time here feels more like home. So I'm still in the process of trying to do Christmas my own way, understand it my own way. I think there's been a lot of progress this year, but I kind of feel the sentiment you feel because for the first time you're celebrating Christmas far away from home. So you're sort of more an observer rather than
yeah,
someone
exactly.
who participates, and that helps in being able to get focused. But other than that, yeah, it's been good. We're just chilling, vibing.
Yeah, I think that the other reason why I'm probably observing more is also because here in Hong Kong, the Christmas celebrations is not that huge. There's more bigger preparations towards the Chinese New Year later on next year, and so that's where you would feel a sense of celebrations
Yeah,
around you. So currently,
yeah,
for me, I'm just roaming online, observing people's celebrations, talking with family, friends, and then just getting to see how people are celebrating their Christmas instead of celebrating mine as well. But it's been a really wonderful like few days, so it's a good mood to have, and always the perks of holidays off work is always welcome.
yeah. That's very true.
Yeah. So, just a few days ago, we reached 2,000 subscribers. I want you to tell me how you feel about it.
I feel great. It's excellent. Like 2,000 people believe in your vision or want to
Yeah,
join you in the journey in which you are on. Whatever the journey is, it's
yeah,
2,000 is a big number. Um, So I think it's great, but I think what it is a testament of what we're doing. That there are people who enjoy what we're doing. So
yeah,
that's an encouragement for us to keep on working, keep on delivering better quality discussions for them, and also the goal is to really understand them.
yeah,
Why are they here? I
yeah,
know they're here for the shafts, but understand it properly so that we can continue to be better for them.
yeah. I think an even more incredible statistic, which would lead me to like speak to our viewers in a short period, is that we average about 8,000 views per week on YouTube and about 3,000 listens per week on Spotify. And so cumulatively, we are close to over 90,000 views and listens since we started consistently producing episodes week in, week out. And that's me now telling our listeners, look, we know almost 8,000 people of you listen to us, but we still see just 2,000 people of you subscribing. That's to say there are 6,000 people out there who are watching us week in, week out, but are failing to hit the subscribe button. Please hit that button when you watch this video so we enter the new year with much more solid relations between the two of us, the shaft, and then yourself as our listeners, and then we can give you much quality content. But for me, those statistics really baffle me because I go into the details and the analytics of the videos and I see these huge numbers and I'm like, we sort of felt we could grow this, but maybe not at this pace. And also maybe it's overwhelming to some extent. And I don't know whether you feel the same way about it.
Yeah, I do. Because mind you, this is also like a debate podcast.
Yeah,
Chaz with me is quite niche.
yeah,
Debate itself as a sport. And moreover, the branding we added to this it was African, right? So it's not even like we are tapping into the global debates market. So to have 2K subscriptions and to have 90K views and listens across all platforms is incredible. It's incredible, given the kind of content that we produce over here. We wanted to get to as many people. Yeah. And just a quick note, I think one other reason people should subscribe, I know it's quite difficult to continue to share, but the YouTube algorithm helps in a way that when you subscribe, it begins to recommend this also to your friends
Yeah,
because they think that they'll also like it. It also helps us to be able to reach out for more.
yeah,
So please do subscribe, especially coming into the new year. We want to continue to deliver quality to you guys. So thank you for the faith in us. Please
yeah,
subscribe.
yeah. Do subscribe. It's really important. In the past weeks as well, amidst the big 2K subscription hit, is also two new things that the Shaft podcast has introduced. And I think the fun thing about us is we are sort of always bringing out something fresh to keep the vibes moving on. And so the first, which for me is personally very fun for me, is the videos episodes on Spotify. And so now for our listeners on Spotify who were only limited to the audio episodes or the audio version of the episodes. Now they can also have access to the video version of the episodes. And it's quite cool because Spotify specifically, when you are listening in audio version, video version, and then you exit the app, it automatically switches to audio version and you can still listen. You know, YouTube, except the paid version, you can't listen on the background, which makes it a little bit difficult. And so for me, I'm really, really excited about that upgrade and also that offer that we've given to our listeners there. The second thing which I'll then ask you to speak to very soon or next is the Shaft officially launching our account on LinkedIn in anticipation of the new year and the kind of episodes we'll be providing. So, what kind of audience are we then looking to reach through that account and through that platform? And what kind of face do we want to give the Shaft? Why are we even doing it at this point and not maybe from the beginning or maybe decide not to do it at all?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. Yeah, first of all, I'm very happy for the Spotify video episodes because I'm a big Spotify fan. Now, since the beginning, I was always pushing, we need to get our stuff on Spotify. I
Yeah,
know people call for other podcast platforms will definitely hit there soon. But I think the Spotify numbers are growing.
yeah,
The number of people who use Spotify, especially within Africa, is also growing. But then also, Spotify is quite huge in the diaspora.
yeah,
And like I said, this gives the advantage of being able to listen to the episode, like you said, listen to the episode without having to close. So it helps.
yeah.
And if you also want to help give us numbers, put it on whilst you're working, put it on whilst you're sleeping and listen to some of these conversations. And it also helps our numbers. I won't lie with that one.
It's true.
But back to the main question, the reason we didn't go on LinkedIn first, there's no peculiar reason. I think at first we wanted to be able to get ourselves to a point where we could scale. We
Yeah,
didn't want to take too much, given that our team was very, very light.
yeah,
Um, so we didn't want to put ourselves in our eggs in too many baskets. Just focus on being able to produce quality episodes, and then from there begin to scale by understanding what the user preferences were, and then getting to match it. But I think the LinkedIn space we have identified fits the model which we are running, especially because it's a debate podcast. In as much as we also try to make it fun, it also involves very, very serious people,
yeah,
people with huge that we bring on board. So we want to encourage them to share it to their business networks and to the business community because we know they use a lot of these insights. Also to connect the debating crowd to the business crowd,
yeah,
especially for things like job opportunities, understanding the career markets. And we're doing it this year because it signifies a shift we are having, a shift that we've always had in mind towards
yeah.
a new audience that's very appreciative of the skills that we build within debates, and also would appreciate some of the conversations that we're having within the podcast.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think that sums up the reasons. For me, I'm excited about LinkedIn because It's like my second Facebook. I'm almost every day I go to LinkedIn.
They are very big on LinkedIn.
Almost every day I go to LinkedIn. And I stopped posting a lot on Facebook because now I do those posts on LinkedIn instead. Like, because you get to build connections, and a lot of people are sort of more there with opportunity minded rather than just social interactions. And so it's a
Exactly.
place for exposure, like you said, and building careers as well. But that's good. Now let me narrow down to you. We've come a long way in 2023, aiming towards 2025. I know you started 2023 in Madrid, right, where you were at the World University Debate Championship. And so that's where
Yeah.
you started. You've come a long way to the end of this year. Also, 2023, I think somewhere mid 2023 was when we started the shaft. And then about 3 months ago, we started to do it much more consistently. So it's been a packed year, to be fair. I just want to get a sense of your best memories, maybe two, three best memories you've had from this year.
Oh gosh. It's it's very hard to narrow down on two best memories. Like the
Yeah,
way we stroll through life, we we always walk past by without like appreciating whether this moment was huge or not, and our ability to feel that is always dependent on things that happen later on.
yeah,
Then you're like, oh, this was very huge as a consequence of that. I think what I'm learning this year is to appreciate those huge moments when I am in it, because that takes some discipline to be able to do that, and it takes having a mindset of gratitude, just being able to say these are the things that happened to me. That being said, lot of things happened to me within this year. One of them was just getting to reunite with family, right? Again within the year, because I'd spent a long time alone within this country. So just being able to reunite with family at the end of the day was one of the huge things for me.
yeah.
It just helped me to gain a level of stability, and also just like lift a cloud over my shoulders, because like it's really hard
Shout
staying
out
far
to
away.
family.
um no Also just being able to launch this podcast, right?
Yeah,
Because at the start of the year, especially in Madrid, when we came back, we started to have these discussions and we weren't sure how to go. We recorded a demo episode, saw how people took it, and we were like, nah, we're gonna go back, we're gonna prepare and
yeah,
come back to it. And then we launched it, and to be honest, it doesn't feel any different. It just always feels like I'm in
yeah,
my room speaking to a computer. But you go out there and you realize that people remember, people hear what you
yeah,
said, people are reiterating it to you. This is not something that I've put out a lot. I've not told people I'm hosting a podcast, things like that.
yeah,
Yeah, which for most of the time, that's me. I'm not like trying to always out what I'm doing,
yeah,
unless it's like a specific audience who I feel like relate to it. But it's nice when people find out and they really appreciate it, and they go
yeah,
and they subscribe, they tell you they'll do that, and they see the numbers that are growing, and they know that you're putting in the work. For me, it's just like enjoying that moment each and every day. So it hasn't felt like, oh, this is a big moment now. I ran a podcast or anything like that, because you and I have always been having these calls, and I feel like we just took these
yeah.
calls out in
To
a
a
more structured.
podcast. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, now people are watching. So it's these are two of the best memories for me.
Let me add one more. And this, I deliberately asked this
Yeah,
question, maybe specifically
yeah, I
for
wanted to also hear from you what your best memories were. I can label one at least.
you.
The
Yeah,
other one is unconfirmed. It's a rumor. So.
which rumor? Hey, be careful. You like doing this, catching me off guard and just popping up things out of the blue.
No, but
There's
we
no
need to hear
rumor
your
anywhere.
best memories.
But yeah, before I move on to my best memories, I think I just want to use this also to recognize a very huge moment in your life, debate career wise, and wish you sort of officially congratulate you for being nominated as the World
Oh,
University Debate Champion, Deputy Chief Adjudicator. Like it's a really huge moment because I think Just to set record straight, you are the second West African to be on this platform, to be on that stage. You are the first ever Ghanaian to be there. And to look at the caliber of people who had come and not had the patience to wait, to grow and dominate the space to the point where they get to that pedestal where the world would grant them that kind of recognition. It's like, I don't know how to put it, but it's really, really huge in terms of the achievement, and also the quality on display in there. And I think everybody in Africa looks at you and looks at your presence there, and we are satisfied. Like, we know our best work is there. We know our best foot is forward, right? And so, massive, massive congratulations to you. Is well deserved. The effort, the hard work over the years, and like, it's crown. It is. I won't want to call it crowning because I know there is way more to come. But up to this point, it just proves that there is always an upper gear to shift into. And that's what your life has been to a lot of debaters who look at it from the outside. Like, you've never had the moment where you say, "Oh, I've reached the top." There's always a top to wherever you are, and you always keep accessing it. So, massive congrats from me and everybody who is watching this episode.
Yeah, if I'm allowed to respond to that, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
thank you. It personally took me off guard to, um, like when I think about achievements, I don't know why my my mind didn't come to that. Maybe also because I don't think of it as an achievement in a sense that there is a requisition, like there's
yeah.
a
The
requisition of personal
yeah,
efforts,
yeah.
yeah, to reach that. It almost feels like
Esteemed life.
you have been nominated to fill a certain position
Yeah,
of accountability and of responsibility. And for me, I'm to be judged after the work is done, not like
yeah.
now. Like it's like, yeah, you've been nominated to do this work, and
Now you are
for
yet to
me,
do the work. So
yeah, I'm here to do the work. So even though I feel the exhilaration, I know I sort of, it's not lost on me, the
yeah,
position, the importance of it, which of course it means a lot to me. But it
yeah.
almost feels like I've been given a job offer, and
So, yeah. There's
I'm here
more
to,
about it than
yeah,
celebrations.
yeah. But yeah, obviously, like we want to keep on working and improving the debate space. Even running this debate podcast is our way of doing that. And I think what I want to represent is just the possibility for people to say that, look, there's a way to evolve and grow within a space. And it's a question I've been asking myself for the last couple of years. Where's my place within the sport? Because when you look ahead,
Yeah.
the way it ends is for, is, you can see for a lot of people they just branch out, do something else, and you're always asking yourself, how would mine end, what would my legacy be? But it's always not felt right just walking away. I know I don't want to be doing like a tournament every week, but I also know that there's a place for me within the debate space to give back until I have nothing more to give. So that's what we'll continue to do.
Awesome,
Yeah,
awesome.
but thank you very much. What about your best memories
This
from
this
the past?
pushback for my best memories. There's something fishy about it. Like,
Yeah, I want to hear them and audit them.
which audit did I audit yours? Just There's just something fishy about what you are doing here right now. But sure. So the first memory, the first moment actually, is getting to see my junior sister after a very long time.
Oh
Um,
wow.
because like, we are two of like we are three siblings, but my bond with her is significantly much more than my bond with my senior sister. Because for her, we seem like grown people, so we talk on much more grown up level. For my junior sister, she's very playful, and she usually
Mm,
disturbs. So anytime she's around me, you would know, she would make you realize that she's there. And for a long time, because of school work and the fact that she has also been schooling in high school, so when I'm home, she's in school. When I'm in school, she's home. That kind of hide and seek. It, I was really struggling to see her, but then I decided to find time, so I went to see her about 2, 3 times this year, which was really, really fun because I got to sit. I spent hours with her, and it was like, it's one of the most memorable things for me this year.
it's
Um,
really nice.
yeah, 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 very, very nice. But she's still troublesome, Charlie. The second, the second, the second one is maybe more significant and also like maybe similar to your reaction to the world's DCA thing. It's like, yeah, there's a fun aspect of it, but also there is a work and responsibility aspect of it, and there's a whole new. world that's presented to you. So this year I moved to Hong Kong to come work to coach debating. That has been my big step in debating this year as well, to take it and to find a profession within it, I would say. And then also get to coach new kids, get to experience a new culture. But like, I'm sure you would know this more than anyone. Once you are picked and dropped into a new environment, you have more responsibility on you to hone yourself within that environment, settle in and grow within it. And it's like and you also need a lot of information which you don't have right from the onset. So it's like you are always somehow on edge about something until you fully settle in. And sometimes you may even argue you may never even fully settle in, because even within your own home, you probably never even fully settle in when you move from Kumasi to Accra, when you move from Accra to Cape Coast or something like that. So that has been for me, but it's been really, really amazing, to be fair, because when I came here, one of the things I've loved a lot is how easy anybody can settle in as a new person. The navigations are very easy, the transportation systems are very efficient, so I've not had trouble moving around. The only thing is, my character of not exploring, so I prefer usually to spend weekends in my room and sleep, or record podcast episodes, than to go out. But I think next year I'll try and start like exploring the city, going places, so I can see more. I can have stories to tell about this place.
Yeah.
Currently I only have
You
stories of my work and my room.
Yeah, you should. It was even something I was about to say because, like, mm, what I realized having to record these episodes, and just as someone who's been in arts for so long, is that your experiences is what translates into what
Yeah,
you do
yeah,
essentially.
yeah.
So try and get as much of it. But personally, I'm also like super proud of you. I knew the
Oh,
amount of work that had to go into this. Like, I know right from the start,
uh,
like patience, the weights,
yeah,
the anxiety, and it just feeling like, are you just being hopeful? The disappointments, the racism, all
man.
of it
Yeah,
together.
this year has been a pack though. Hey, this
Yeah,
is was this year I got that racist experience.
yes, exactly. I know. So I know what the amount of work you had to put in. So
Yeah,
for me, I think you should enjoy it, and it's a super proud achievement. And look, I think I've had this conversation with you before, but I'll just repeat this part here.
yeah,
It's a generational thing, like getting to leave your home. There are a lot of stories. I'm someone who takes inspiration from the Bible a lot, so
yeah,
there are a lot of stories of men who had to leave their homes, and throughout history, men who had to leave their homes, there's a weight of expectation in terms of doing great things, and they always did. They changed their, not just their lives, they changed their the trajectory of their entire generations. Even
yeah,
if you think about like the US, and you talk about the black people who had to move their homes and
yeah.
make the journey up north, who changed the lives of the generations after them. And it might not be easy to recognize now, but I think that's one of the steps you've taken. So
Yeah.
um kudos to you, and I know there's just still more to come. You're not done.
Thank you very much. Yes, yes. For a second, I thought you were going to be fishy, but sure, you ended up being
I
super
told you
nice.
I'm a nice person. I don't know. All the audience know except you.
The- Well, the audience also know I'm nice. You are selectively nice. That's the thing. You sneak up on people, like you sneak up on people when they are not looking out. But yes, yes, yes. So cool. Now I want us to have a much more important discussion. Not to say the ones we've been having this. Why do I say things that make it look like the ones we've been having are more important? But I want to ask you something because it's been on my mind for a while. I think every year, actually, every the start of every new year, it comes on my mind because I get trapped in the conflict of whether to do it or not to do it. And usually, when you read people's comments on social media, there is equally that split opinion on whether or not they are relevant or not. And that's the issue of New Year resolutions. Are they important? Why should we do it? Right? And why do people choose to make resolutions around that time of the year? I don't know if you have a take on it and what's your personal interaction with it. But personally, I'm always in the middle because I'm not sure. Should I do it? Should I not do it? What will people say if I do it? What will people say if I don't do it? Those things.
Yeah, if I don't have a take on it, then the podcast probably ends here, right? So, um,
Ah,
yeah. No, I think I agree with people in a sense. If you look at New Year resolutions,
Yeah.
you want to understand what New Year is. And if you look at it at its microscopic level, it's really just another day. It's
Yeah.
um, 24 hours. If we are to take out all the um, shenanigans around it. It's just another 24 hours, another new day, which has been given to us, and it just continues in that way. But
Yeah.
as usual, as human beings, we don't live on that microscopic basic level. We live on a more advanced cognitive level.
Yeah.
And for us, the most important thing to us is meaning, for things to make sense, that we have a sense of the world. It is the eyesight through which we navigate the world, through which we feel the things around us, and through which we engage things in the world. Because without meaning, we don't engage with anything. If the bus that takes you to work, it has meaning because there's a story for you. It takes you to work where you're able to deliver what you need to deliver, come back home, and that's how you are living your life. It's one of the vehicles for living your life. If it if it you didn't have that story, you didn't have that meaning to it, you're probably not going to engage with it or not interact with it in the right way or in the right direction. So we create all these things around the end of year, around the start of a new year, because the notion of a start or a beginning and an end is one thing that is fundamental to being a human. We always need to recognize start and ends in order for things to make sense to us. And that's why when things just repeat themselves over and over and over and over again, we just get bored because there is no start and there is no end, right? So we need to have start and ends in order to make things meaningful to us. And it's on the backdrop of that something like a new year becomes meaningful to us. And if it is meaningful to us, then it gives us a certain power to be able to approach certain things in a unique way, in a
Yeah.
way that seems relevant to us, and in a way that can also empower us. So for me, if this meaning exists and I can use it to be able to push for some of my goals, things which I've been working on for so long,
Yeah.
then that is a good thing. But I can understand when people think, well, it doesn't work or it doesn't make any sense, and that every day you need to work on the things which you love. I think that perspective is all right if you are already making steps to always improve yourself, like your goals, you're chasing them. But
Yeah.
if you just have the mindset that, yeah, New Year is really nothing works, so you're not going to do anything, I'll say you are missing out on a fantastic opportunity to always work on your goals. So for me, I like New Year resolutions. It's very powerful, also because once it's 25th December, it's 1 month to my birthday. So I'm
Ah.
getting a year older at the
Okay.
same time. So
Okay.
it sort of like hits me
That's more
a bit more.
personal for you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I take it a bit more seriously. But yeah, I think they work, and I think they're very, very powerful.
I mean, that makes sense. I want to ask one question before I give my thoughts on this and maybe why it works for most people. But have you tried ever making big resolutions in the middle of the year, maybe any other time other than New Year?
Yeah, obviously. But this story that I just told about New Year's work because it's a perspective thing. It works in many ways. People do it on their birthdays, which could be in the
Yeah.
middle of the year. People do it on holidays. People can do it at the start of the week. Maybe the weight of it is not always the same. People can have a job and be like, okay, from next week, this is what I'm going to do because it represents a start. So I think it's just fixated on a concept of a beginning and an end in order to give us that refresh and the ability to repurpose ourselves.
Okay. I mean, I asked this because I don't quite remember when specifically, but I remember trying to slow down and then just rethink of some big steps I would like to take in the coming year, even before like this year ended. And I struggled to do that. And the reason why I struggled to do that was because everything around me was still moving. Nobody was catching their breath to wait for me to think and analyze things, to settle on resolutions before they would say, okay, let's continue. So it's like you want to make these resolutions, but work is waiting for you, but projects are waiting for you, but you have to fulfill certain responsibilities. And that means the world is moving, and sometimes making certain resolutions, you need to relax, you need to catch your breath, you need to take a break and then just think and reflect on things. And what I noticed thinking about this morning was that the reason why probably a lot of people are able to make resolutions within this part of the year is because the entire world literally stops for you. Like, work is on break. Everybody feels that it's a holiday season. And so take your time, reflect, rest, and refresh yourself and set up yourself for the new year. And so that comes with some amount of relief from the pressure that ordinarily you would be feeling around you if everybody else is not thinking about making those big resolutions and catching their breath, and you want to do it in isolation. But also I see it like the world sort of has come to an sort of a consensus that new year's should come with certain improvements, and so people set these resolutions as a means to improve upon themselves from the previous people they were. And that's a good thing. I get equally get the perspective of like it's just another day, because to be fair, when I woke up on 25th, I nearly typed on my status that yeah, it's same as 24th and equally same as some random day in March, right? Like it felt the same. It didn't really feel substantially different. And I'm sure on the 1st of January, it would equally feel just as it felt on 31st December in terms of weather, climate, people around you. Maybe you would have some emotional significance to it, but that's really, like you said, the mental value we ascribe to starts and ends within our lives. And so for those people, sure, I equally understand the perspective on it. And like you said, it's good. It doesn't mean those people don't get resolutions. It just means they equally adapt to making resolutions regardless of the timeline, which is probably even better for them. But in my personal experience this year, I've just found it that it was much tough for me trying to make significant resolutions when the world wasn't stopping for me to catch my breath and do that. Rather, this period feels like much easier for me. So within these days, I've been thinking, reflecting, what do I want next year to look like? And I've had the time to do that because I'm not working. Nobody's calling me, expecting me to deliver on the timeline, right? Which is much easier to go through. So I don't know if you have any takes on this though.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's a very interesting take, and I think yeah, you are right. It's one of the things which influence people because then people ask you the question like you're asking me now. So I
Yeah,
probably don't have New Year resolutions, but because you're asking me, because I know about yours, you're working on it. I can take motivation from that, and it's called social proof.
yeah,
So you get validated by what other people
other
are
people.
doing, and you are sort of able to bandwagon and feed off their energies, and it sort of like acts like the opposite side of bystander effect. Should I say adjacent
Yeah,
to opposite side of
yeah,
bystander effect? So you can always leverage on that social proof to work. But what I have two points I want to make over here.
yeah,
One is that one, when we begin to take New Year resolutions, it doesn't matter if we're able to see them through or not. There is some improvements which come from it. Like I've not been able to see my New Year resolutions through to the T,
yeah,
but every year I say I'll read a bit. I say I'll read more. I say I give myself a ridiculous figure, 52 books in a year or whatever it is. I find out that I'm reading more this year.
yeah,
Anytime I'm going to hit the gym, like last year I said I was going to do the gym.
yeah,
Started off slow, but I was able to do the gym consistently to a point, um, and break something in me. So it's also giving yourself the opportunity to improve bit by bit because life is not lived in 1 year.
yeah,
So that's also good. Secondly, there are people who take motivations from different places. There are people who take motivations from flowing the crowd, some
yeah.
others who take it from flowing against the
Be
tide.
proud. Yeah,
So I'm also the kind of person who will feel like, look, nobody's doing this. This is the perfect time for me to improve on
yeah,
this. And I'm sure we'll be talking more about debate goals, and I'll have some examples of how I was able to use New Year resolutions to approach my debate improvements. But sometimes that's what it took, like just going against the crowd, doing what people were not doing, at the time where they were quote unquote sleeping,
yeah, yeah.
just in
I
the night.
think
So
these things also happen within different seasons of your life. So there are periods where I feel like, okay, I can go with the crowd because what the crowd is moving for aligns with my individual interest and goals. There are periods where I just sit back and go like, no, I'm not going with the crowd because I don't think I can follow them and get what I want, right? But what you said is really true. One of the criticisms that people have of New Year resolutions is that they're usually very huge and people never achieve them in totality. And I think what you said really speaks to the fact that people don't need to achieve it in totality. I mean, if you can, you should, right? If you know you have the capacity to, you should. But one thing I've always learned in the past years is that, and I think you and I have probably worked towards this and have this mindset for the past 2 3 years, that the pursuit of perfection is probably an illusion that you would ever be perfect at something. But that pursuit is essentially what takes you to excellence. Because if you think that you can never get perfect and you don't put in the work, it's probably difficult because you may never become exceptional or excellent about it. The reason why you are so good at some of the things you do is because you have this mindset of, I need to be good to it to the T. And sometimes you may never get it because criticisms would come. You are human. But it keeps on making you better and better about it every single time. And for me, that's good enough improvement and the progress that we do. But just one more question about this whole discussion. Why do you think sometimes people set New Year resolutions and are unable to achieve them? And what are your maybe a few things you've seen about these kind of situations and how you think people can try and resolve and fix those problems in the coming year?
Well, if I had all the answers, I'll be able to achieve all my New Year resolutions, but I don't. So I probably am the first case study for myself when I think about why New Year resolutions don't work.
Yeah,
First of all, maybe I don't set realistic goals, and the same applies to a lot of people. We don't set realistic goals, so the
adrenaline.
goals may the goals may be in the right frame or manner, but the same year we want to go to the gym, we want to start reading more books, we want to grow our debate podcast, we want to get better in life, improve our relationships, like a
Yeah,
whole lot of different things that like
take time.
don't connect. Yeah, some people just see other people's goals and they're like, yeah, yeah, if I do that, that would be nice. And put it all together without realizing that for you to do some of these things, they take a lot of effort. So that effort is going to obviously is an opportunity cost against your other goals which you want, which will
Yeah,
now see you failing at more goals,
yeah,
maybe improving slightly one, but failing at more. But obviously our minds begin to now go towards the ones we are failing at and we
yeah,
think, ah, we are not able to do them, and then we just collapse.
yeah,
Um Another thing also is just the social proof thing, just going with the flow, setting goals because you think you need to set goals. Um, Sometimes we're already working on some goals, and it's good to always say, like, this year I've been able to make some improvements. I'm going to continue with it. I'm going to grow this. I'm going to focus more on this,
yeah,
and just do that. So not just come up with goals because everyone else is doing them. Thirdly, I think if you rely on social proof, there's a point at which like yeah, everybody's energies go down. People just return back to what they do. Like you said, the world doesn't pause for you. So the world resumes again and you realize that oh, all the different things, my job, my family,
come back.
this, everything is still back. It's back in my life. So I've not really changed. I'm the same old person. Then you just stop using the method you wanted to use and then you now go back to basic instincts level, trying to
Yeah,
survive with a year by September, you're like you've
literally.
down all your tools, you are just like bare fist fight.
You know,
Right. And
every single year there's this period of the year where people come back to their goals and go like,
yeah.
uh, so recently they mean so maybe I would visit. Then they mention a fancy place. Then there'll be skits on social media where people go and adjust and say, "I'll visit my mother." Just
Yeah, readjust your
easy
goals
things,
because
yeah,
you realize that it's not going to. But I'll just say that it's important that we have a long-term view of things. For me, I don't fret about my goals because I have a long-term view of things.
yeah,
I'm able to sort of be patient to know that things, good things would happen to me. Things will happen to me if I keep on just make sure I'm moving all the time. So I don't set too many goals right at once. And even when I do, and make sure that they are connected. So I just ask myself, what's my vision with this goal? If you want to go to the gym, it means that genuinely you just want to care about your health in general. So it's not just about hitting the physical gym. So what does it involve? What
Impact.
perspective should you now start having and start linking them? So if you want your health to improve, it means you are cutting down on maybe food, spending some time in the gym, maybe being specific about what you eat, things like that. And then now connected to saying, but if I do that, there's a financial benefit to it. And also being able to connect the goals in a way that like really, really helps you. If I'm spending some time in the gym, how do I make that time back? Things like that, just try and connect the goals. It's also be practicing gratitude, right?
Yeah,
Um, always knowing that, like the example I gave, well, if I'm cutting down on my rations, that doesn't mean I'm saving money, which is good. And if I'm counting that, well, I'm actually able to kill two birds with one stone.
one stone. Yeah,
It gives me the motivation to think that I'm working on my goals, and give yourself time periods and try and focus on a few at once, right? And try and navigate them in a way that continues to give you motivation. And one thing I've also realized is that continuous motivation is good. We sometimes just take the initial motivation and we run with it, but
yeah,
motivation is like fuel.
yeah,
I used to ask, why do people just keep on listening to motivational messages? And I realized that sometimes there are lots of things we miss, like,
yeah,
and I also encourage you, the Shaft podcast, when you listen to it once, it's not enough, because there
yeah,
are a lot of important things which you're going to miss, because our mind, like I said, can't take a lot of things. So we focus on one thing. Sometimes you listen to it again and you get the perspective quite differently,
perspective.
because
Yeah,
time has allowed you to process things a bit differently. So continue going in for motivation. Listen to this podcast again about New Year resolutions. You pick something new and use it to drive yourself forward. There's no need for you to stop. Because like the pessimist always says, it's still the same 24 hours and you still
yeah,
have the chance to do something different.
yeah. For me, I just I probably think my most significant test this year in terms of resolutions, because I probably didn't have a big resolution, but I had specific things I wanted to do. And always when it got to the time where I wanted to do those things, I just felt a lag, right, within that period where it's like I'm lagging towards the timelines I've set. If I wanted to finish an application within 12 days, like now I'm lagging and it's 10 days and I'm still not halfway through and I'm not done. And it put a big character test for me within this year as to how do I pull myself to finish these. And so I faced, I think, two of those at the beginning of the year, and then I told myself, no, I have to change this. So anytime any of those times were coming, I would deliberately sit, book my calendar 2 hours every day on these applications, and then make sure when it's time, I may not maybe do it even within that specific 2 hours because I'm not a robot. Something may pop up somewhere and will distort the flow. But I would at least consciously put in some effort towards it within those periods and then make sure that I'm getting towards it. And I told myself I think that has been the most important change towards fulfilling
Mm,
resolutions, the deliberate effort to plan how to execute them and give myself timelines, but this time also tell myself even if something pushes that timeline, I will try and make up for it. And then secondly, just be hard on myself to see it through, like be really hard on myself. I don't know how I managed to do it, but it was like mentally I told myself I'm not letting it slide. And there have been applications that I've taken to the latter, where the day before the deadline, I was like, I don't think I can do this. The following morning, I woke up and I'm like, why did I even think that yesterday? Why did I tell myself that I have to get it done? And then I just pull myself together, sit, and then get it done. So for me, I think at the bottom or at the heart of these big resolutions are individual tasks. And it's down to completing those individual tasks, which is down to you being committed to them. So I just will tell people break it down to a task level, and you probably find it much easier to get through it. I look back on the year and it's been so huge, but it never
mm,
felt like it when I was going through that year. Never felt like it. Like I'm working on the Africa Youth Trade Debate Championship with Eric and Speech Forces. and that task started, and it just was like weekend tasks. And in the end, you look back on it and whoa, that was a huge project, but it never felt like it during the process. So that's just my take on it for our viewers, and I hope it helps in the coming year.
No, it's a very, very powerful take. I don't know if I can share um, maybe an example of how this works,
Yeah, yeah,
like within it. There was a year when I was about to in 2017 I was joining debates, and like I had an idea of how the space works, right? Because I had been in it casually before, but within that period I just thought I was going to be here for a year and max and probably leave. And even throughout all of the years in debate till now, I always just try and set like a yearly goal for myself. And I don't try to be too ambitious because I also recognize that it is a space where we are competing in. So the way I always used to view it is to categorize people. And there's a section of people that I was always looking to get better than. So it was by now asking myself, what were they doing? What work were they putting in?
yeah.
Not just the work they were putting in now, the work they've put in previously,
Oh,
and how can I surpass it? So, because for me, our outcomes are an amalgamation of individual efforts
yeah,
to which culminates to like the kind of outcome you want. So if you want a bigger outcome, more individual efforts,
yeah,
and that also requires time. So that also then means maximizing the use of your time
yeah,
over the period or over the per the individual effort you're giving. So I just sort of have my task cut out for me in terms of the people I'm competing with. Like if I want to make a GEDC semi-final, who is likely to make semi-final? Who is competing? What have they done?
yeah,
What do I need to beat? So it meant always putting myself within their grind specifically and entering into the year with renewed vigor. I need to attend this number of tournaments. I need to get into the finals of that and that and that. And for me, it wasn't even specific in that way, but sometimes just saying, I need to get to a point where I break because I've realized this is my ceiling. And
yeah,
after I break, I get
yeah,
knocked out of the first
yeah,
round. I
yeah.
need to start making it out of
That's
first round
so true
consistently.
because you and I have
Yeah,
done a lot of times, a whole
yes,
lot of times. Yeah,
exactly. So it got to a point where I was now saying, I need to be a finalist when I enter into this tournament.
yeah,
And trust me, it now became an automatic thing.
yeah.
Any tournament
It
I was in the
went from
finals.
TSL breaks to open breaks to
Yeah,
maintain out rounds and then to finals.
exactly. Now it's like every tournament we go into,
Yeah,
we enter into finals. I'm not saying like we do that for everybody. Like it's now seen as no one gets like
possible.
you
Like
just
nobody says it's impossible for you. Yeah,
yeah, and it's because I realized that when once you break it, it becomes easier because
yeah,
then you experience it, you know how it
yeah,
feels, and then I try and create a method out of it, and then begin to repeat those
yeah,
steps, and then just get better till you are in that space, till you feel challenged to improve on the next thing. So
yeah,
I think in debates, these New Year resolutions can be very important, especially if you're a Ghanaian and or you're West African, and Genesis is starting in January. It's the
yeah,
very first tournament you want to go to Genesis. Shout out Speech Forces. So go to Genesis, go and prove your worth, especially after Worlds.
yeah,
Because for many people, after Worlds ends, they are like, oh, I'm tired. This
yeah.
is my time to rest. And people always make that mistake. You think it's a joke, but people always, and that's
Yeah,
where,
long break.
yeah, and that's why I was telling you that when
Things
people
come
are
up
asleep,
actually. Yeah,
yeah, we are working because everybody some of them don't even go to worlds. They just go to PAEDC and they're like, I'm tired.
yeah. The
I
year
want
has
to come back.
ended.
And I'm like, why are you tired? This is the time that I've gone to worlds and I'm hearing new arguments. I'm
Yeah,
hearing some of the speakers, and some of these arguments are fresh. No one knows how to use them. No
yeah,
one knows how to use them. You've made new contacts within debates, people exploring new circuits. This is the time to work. This is the
yeah,
time to get to work and start like building your goals and networking and sort of like improving on yourself. But many people go to sleep because
yeah,
uh, they're tired. It's a year they're tired. And guess what? By the middle of the year, they want to do debate again. Then they now come and they're like, I'm back. It's
yeah,
afterwards. I'm back with the energy. And everyone's like gone, or
yeah,
people who are gone. Like
yeah,
already the world is highlighting those who are gone. I'm not saying don't take breaks, but why are you taking it? Like you should have a clear objective
Yeah,
with what you're doing. So that's an example of how I
yeah,
did it within debate, like how people can do it.
yeah. We'll wrap up this conversation soon with the Shaft's New Year resolutions, but I just want to highlight one more thing for people. I, like, I was guilty of this at the beginning of the year, and I'm going to tell people what it is. Do not disrespect your goals or your resolutions or the things you want to achieve by generalizing efforts and not being deliberate about what you are doing. So let me give you a classic example. CVs, right? CVs, we have general CVs, but different applications require different CVs. People usually find it difficult to take the extra step to tailor their CVs to suit a specific application. So they would pick that same general CV and use it to apply for 300 roles. And then they would tell you, oh, I got rejected for all of them. Yes, because you disrespected that opportunity to not even want to put in the effort needed to meet that standard and to highlight yourself in a way that the people within that space can appreciate you and receive you to that extent. Which means that a lot of us have goals. We end up telling ourselves we've completed them by simply like ending the task. But what I really want you to start asking is, am I doing what the task expects? Or am I doing what makes me comfortable to feel that I've just completed the task and yeah, I've done it and I can take it off my box, right? Because you'll be doing and you realize that those extra 1 hour you should have taken to tailor your CV, that extra 2 hours you should have taken to maybe, instead of picking an essay you wrote for a previous application, sit, think, rewrite a new essay that reflects where you've gotten to, and use that instead, because that's a much more matured approach or a much more reflective thing. We always tend to draw on previous things that exist and are less evolutionary in the way in which we respond to opportunities. And that would let a lot of things pass you by. And so for me, I see that I got to realize that that's me disrespecting the opportunity. And if I don't get in, it's my fault and nobody's fault. And I think when you start respecting the opportunities you have, it is not automatic. But I generally think that you increase the effort you put in, and that just increases your chances of getting in as well, which would lead to a lot of positive things coming out within the coming year. So, just my few 2 cents on the issue.
Oh,
Uh,
this is like 50 cents. Um,
uh,
no, this it's very very important.
yeah,
Myself is something that I believe I can learn from.
yeah, yeah. All right, great. So the shaft, we've been talking about New Year resolutions, and we are here. First, I would like us to appreciate the team, right? Before we move on to the New Year resolutions, because a lot of people have seen myself, they've seen you, but I don't
Yeah.
think they've seen the other people behind the scenes. And to be fair, we are a very small team, like a very very small team, doing amazing things with your support and with your subscriptions and your views as well. So obviously the two people you know, myself and Erasmus, but behind the scenes we have two amazing individuals who have joined us along the way. First is Pearl, who took over our social media handles as well, and put in a lot of effort on the social media front. um, and then subsequently we also have Pascal, who has joined us, Pascal Obey, who has joined us also on the social media team to put in a lot of work, and that has also equally made it easy to even explore the other social media options, like we said, LinkedIn. The reason why we weren't there is because the team was small. We wanted to just focus on doing the small things right, and then later we upscale. And one of the reasons why we are gradually upscaling is also because there are people, these two people have come into the team and are putting in a lot of work in the background to push forward the kind of work that we are doing. And from myself, I'll just like to say, like, these are two amazing individuals who have when you have discussions and they share their thoughts, anytime they step in, you realize that yeah, they know what they are doing within their space. And sometimes some of us are within those spaces, but when somebody is more into those spaces, you won't see what they see, right? So it's good to have them on the team, and it's been amazing as well. Just a quick shout out to also anybody who has come onto the show as a guest. because you have been here, and the reason why this podcast is thriving is because of your thoughts, your experiences, your ability to share some of the things with us. And we say thank you, thank you. Finally, thank you to you, Erasmus. I mean, this journey has
Ah,
been a bit tough from the start, and we've had to put in a lot of effort. And one thing I like about you being here is because you are very open to growing and improving the quality. And so anything that seeks to up the standard is not something you would say you'd be like you drag your feet about almost all the time. Every single time there's always an opportunity, and we are always thinking, we always share, oh, we can have a moment of spark somewhere somehow, and then you just come and say, look, we should do ABC, and we genuinely have discussions about it and then improve as well. So thank you to everyone on the team. Yeah.
yeah, thanks everyone. We really really appreciate the efforts of everyone. Pell and Pascal have been phenomenal in terms of our outreach to you guys and just being able to get to you guys. So, we're open to people supporting the team in different capacities. We when we identify the right profile, we're always willing to bring them on board.
Yeah.
It's a very open team. Like everyone is like everyone's ideas are taken, and we're always seeking ways to improve, and it's almost family like, as I like to put it. So thank you all, thank you guys so much, thank you all the guests who have been on.
Final wrap up. Erasmus, what are the New Year resolutions for the Shaft family?
Yeah, hopefully we don't repeat the mistakes we mentioned with regards to New Year resolutions,
Yeah.
but we want to expand, we want to grow, and that is on our agenda regardless of whether it's a new year or not. We
Yeah.
want to grow our subscriber base. We want to try and hit 5,000 in the next couple of months. We also want to expand our viewership. For me personally, I'm looking to promote these aggressively um, on LinkedIn, and as well as the Spotify podcast, to grow the numbers specifically over there, because those are where I see the opportunities for growth.
Yeah.
Even though there's still room on YouTube, I think we've exhausted it to a certain degree. There are still a lot of people who use Spotify and haven't got on, a lot of people on YouTube who, sorry, LinkedIn, who just haven't heard about our stuff yet, where I think it's going to be very relevant, because I think there's a rich vein to tap from over there. So it's to grow. That
Yeah.
also means bringing on bigger guests. So in the coming year, we are bringing on newer, bigger guests.
Yeah.
The scope of the conversations we want to have, and this is also part of the growing process, is to expand it beyond like the niche we know it for. Continue to bring in new conversations that we know is relevant to debaters, but then also to a lot of other different people, and not just limited to the debate conversation, so that people can be able to have it. That is not losing our originality, because we still want to focus the guests within the debate space,
Yeah.
but only this time, the kind of conversations that we want to have, we want it to be way more applicable in diverse areas of your life. So
Yeah.
this the vision is growth. All these things are just different ways of
Aspects of
being able
it.
to achieve that growth. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's true, and I think that sums it up. For me, I've really enjoyed like this conversation, for instance, especially about New Year resolutions. And this is just to give people maybe maybe a reflection of what you are talking about. This conversation about New Year resolutions is applicable to so many different spheres of life, regardless of whether you are within debate, whether you are outside of debate, and you can relate to it on multiple levels as well. And those are some of the conversations the Shaft would like to now focus on, bring debaters who are prominent and who are doing wonderful things from their fields of expertise as well, and then have mainstream conversations that both you, our current audience, our fan base, our supporters can relate to, but also new audience, people who are probably not hardcore debaters and hardcore debate fans like you and I can still enjoy and can still relate to. And for me, I like these conversations because, to be fair, that is how I equally learned how to be a good debater. Because a lot of the information I use in debate competitions are actually information from mainstream discussions and from mainstream podcasts that I listen to about relevant situations and relevant issues within society as well. So I'm really excited about the prospects of of the shaft in the coming year, and I'm sure everybody would love it as well. So yeah, any final words, Erasmus, before we wrap
Uh,
up this episode?
yeah, thank you to everyone. We look forward to the new year, and I really do wish you happy holidays and a prosperous new year. And we get to meet over the line. Take care of yourself. Make sure you're doing all the right things.
Yeah. So I don't know what to say, but I'm fine. I'm just happy. But yeah, to everyone who listened to this episode, happy new year. Hope you set resolutions, learn from the mistakes from the past year, and would reconvene again next year at the end with another discussion of how our resolutions went, and hopefully by that time we'll get to share more comments about the successes we've gotten within the resolutions that we had. So enjoy the festive season. Best of luck in the coming year. Merry Christmas and a happy new year to everyone. See you guys. Bye.